Good day. This is my final scenario for EDU 607, Staff Personnel and Public Relations, offered second summer term 2021 through Franciscan University of Steubenville, taught by Dr. George Ash. This final scenario involves the issues surrounding establishing and staffing a new middle school and my resulting action plan. Also included in this presentation is my literature review and the results of my administrator interview. In looking at this scenario, I see multiple issues. The first issue that I see is that there are two schools in the same district that have the exact same breakdown of staff with equal distribution of teachers holding elementary and secondary licensure, and one of those school buildings is being closed. The obvious implication is that there will have to be a reduction in staff across both certified and classified positions. Between the two schools, there are 84 positions, 60 teachers, 20 non-licensed personnel, and 4 administrators. I do not foresee a scenario where everyone mentioned here will be retained. Another issue revolves around what I would have to refer to as a massive merging of cultures. The student population from the school that is being shuttered is around 70% minority. The school building itself, as mentioned in the scenario, is in an area that is experiencing urban decay. If I am being completely honest, there may be concerns from the affluent community about the types of students coming from the decaying community. Perceptions are sometimes hard to overcome, especially initially. On the other side of the coin, those coming from the school that is closing may fear acceptance, or more accurately, a lack thereof. There may be hesitation on their part to be integrated with a student population that is overwhelmingly not like them, and that population may feel a sense of superiority. These are not uncommon problems in our current society, unfortunately. Another issue that I see is some of the 6th grade students will be leaving the other 6 elementary schools a year earlier than anticipated. The scenario said that the other 6 elementary schools are pre-K through 6, which is different from Johnson and Kennedy, which were kindergarten through 8th. Since the scenario did not list a current middle or junior high school, I have to assume that the 6th graders at one of the other 6 elementary schools attended either Johnson or Kennedy for 2 years before heading to Happy Valley High School. If this is the case, these current 6th graders at the 6 elementary schools are having what may be a critical year taken from them, so to speak, as many students and their parents would probably be using this year to start to mentally prepare for the transition to either Johnson or Kennedy. Their transitioning will be happening now, and that may be a problem for some. I would now like to address the literature I reviewed for this scenario. I refer to the textbook that we used for this course, The Essentials of Human Resources Administration in Education by Ronald W. Rebor. When a reduction in force is at hand, he suggests that most collective bargaining agreements use seniority to determine who stays and who goes. There are alternatives to simply laying teachers off, and one of those is early retirement. It may be that there are some teachers in this scenario that are close enough to retirement age that the right package could persuade them to leave now and thereby allow some less experienced teachers to stay employed. This is something to consider. As it relates to the merging of cultures, one article that I read entitled Educational Diversity and Ethnic Cultural Heritage in the Process of Globalization talked about the importance of diversity in education. The author said, for the successful development of education, cooperation is needed to improve the diversity of educational environments, to promote a healthy relationship between a school and its surrounding community, to embrace communal responsibility for diversity, to reduce barriers to diversity within schools, to ensure that school policies are consistent with the stated diversity goals, and to promote connections and communication within and between schools. In another article entitled Pros and Cons of School Consolidation, author Robert Alley mentioned that one negative, in the eyes of those losing their school, is the loss of identity. There is a fear that parents and students alike will not be able to identify with the new school as they did with the old one. It will be critical to work toward bringing these obviously different communities together prior to the beginning of the school year to at least begin the process of familiarization and unification. The third issue I addressed referred to the quicker than expected transition to a new school for those sixth graders. There are students and parents alike for whom this transition may be an issue. The article Managing Unexpected Endings and Transitions offered multiple ideas, but there are two on which I would like to focus. The first centers on honesty. It is said that honesty is the best policy, and I believe that to be true. This article talks about the need to honestly encourage students and parents to look to the future without making unrealistic promises. Optimism and hope will promote a positive attitude while mitigating worries. The other idea speaks of preparation. It will be somewhat challenging to prepare students for something that came along rather quickly, but there are things that can be done. These will be addressed in my action plan. The administrator interview was conducted with Mr. John Belt, Assistant Superintendent for the Indian Creek Local School District based in Wintersville, Ohio. He offered a great deal of insight for this scenario. He initially talked about looking at the licensure of the teachers on staff and making reallocation decisions based on the licensure and certification held by each teacher. This would be followed by asking the staff for volunteers to move into various positions if their certification allows for it. He then mentioned needing to review union contracts to determine who is able to voluntarily move or be moved involuntarily for needed positions. He spoke of being active in and interactive with the new school community. It will be necessary to, as much as possible, get the community on board and behind the new middle school. Bus routes were another topic he addressed. Planning would need to begin to look at how to minimize, as much as possible, students' ride time on their bus. He said that at Indian Creek, they tried to limit bus rides to less than 60 minutes. This would be something to consider for Kennedy Middle School as well. He spoke of needing to speak to the food service director about what would be needed to feed the new student body. He referred to looking to see if curriculum in one school could be transferred to the other and still accommodate the students in attendance. Mr. Belt mentioned the need to get rid of everything at Johnson through public auction. It had never occurred to me as to why schools and their property were always sold at auction. I always assumed that the sale of these items was simply a way to raise revenue for the district. While this may be true, he told me that schools and their property are owned by the public, so it would be illegal for the district to not offer the real estate or property to the public at large. File that under You Learn Something Every Day. That said, it will be necessary to manage selling the school and its contents. As far as the teachers, he stressed that it will be necessary to bring the teachers together and get everyone on the same page in using Kennedy's technology and any shared amenities and to begin the spirit of collaboration, since this staff will be working together very, very soon. One other item that Mr. Belt pointed out after I read the scenario to him was that of the statement which read, "You are told by the superintendent that you are in charge of implementing this total reorganization plan." He said that while I, as the assistant superintendent, am in charge of the plan, I need to not be afraid to ask questions and to not be afraid to delegate. This may have been assumed, but the fact that he made a point to verbalize this was telling. In closing, I want to share my action plan. I believe that the first order of business will be to take a deeper look at the seniority list to determine which teachers will get the opportunity to stay on. This will, in all likelihood, be the starting point for determining the middle school staff. After assessing this, any teachers that are close to retirement will be offered an early retirement package if the superintendent, treasurer, and Board of Education determine that this is an option. If any of those teachers take the retirement package, then it will be necessary to see what remaining teachers fit into whatever positions are needed to staff the school. Once the staff is completed, all teachers that were not retained will be informed of the decision and will be referred to the District Human Resources Department for further guidance. The same process will happen with classified personnel and the administrators. I genuinely feel that this scenario is ripe for apprehension and uncertainty in the blending of these two communities. Significant efforts will need to be taken to get everyone on board. One action toward this end will be to host some sort of social event for all students that will attend the middle schools with their families as well. I believe that this should be held at a neutral site of some kind. If the social gathering is held at Kennedy, I fear that this might keep some of the Johnson community from attending out of either discomfort or the feeling that they're being pandered to. A public park with picnic shelters and activity areas will allow for families from two decidedly different communities to come together on ground that is neutral. This potential distraction of "we don't belong here" or "this is our community" can be eliminated, and the focus can be on the people. After the social event, I would like to host another more formal event where parents and students can come in and attend a question and answer session involving the board, central office administration, and members of the middle school teaching staff. I do not believe that this will be an entirely pleasant experience, but I believe that accessibility to concerned and possibly angry parents will go a long way towards smoothing tension. The alternative, inaccessibility, and the resulting frustration from that, combined with the frustration stemming from the consolidation, will do little for positive public relations within the school district. It was mentioned in a class that I have taken in my time at Franciscan that preschool and kindergarten students benefit from their teachers going out of their way to drive to their students' homes and meet them prior to the start of the school year. We are dealing with older students in this scenario, but I believe that in this extenuating circumstance, the same benefits could be gained here. This could help students and families be more at ease by meeting the teacher prior to the first day of school, and the nature of a personal visit in the home has more impact than an open house would. I am not opposed to open houses, but with those, the students and families make the effort to get to the school. In this situation, I believe that the effort made by the teacher to go to the student will make a greater impact and sends a better, deeper message. As it relates to the concern about moving up early, I believe that the aforementioned forum would be a great place to start sharing the positivity and hope that the literature suggested. Having a full panel of administrators, teachers, and classified personnel would present a unified image and allow families to put faces behind the message they are receiving. Additionally, one thing that the literature mentioned that I really liked and would implement would be the use of virtual welcome packs. These packs could contain whatever information the staff determines would be the most helpful and would allow students to have a better idea of what to expect. It might also be beneficial to find out if there are any parents from Kennedy that would be willing to speak at the forum and let all the new students and parents know about the positive experiences their children have had to help build support for the new school. This last point helps with the sense of community while also helping to prepare students for what is to come. That is my final analysis of the scenario. I thank you for your time.